Okay, next up, we have Michelle Cowardin with Colorado. She's done a wonderful job helping to get this conference together. Thank you, Michelle, for all your work bringing us to Denver.
Yeah,
She's presenting on collaborative strategies for corridor conservation in Colorado.
great. Yeah, thank you everyone for coming and welcome to Colorado if you haven't been here before. I'm going to give a pretty high overview of just some work we've done in Colorado for collaboration to just improve and maintain connectivity and associated mostly with transportation. In 2014, CPW completed our West Slope mule deer strategy. And in this, one of the priorities identified was to reduce impacts to mule deer, to improve survival, movements, and maintain our migrations. And some components of the implementation of this strategy was to continue working with CDOT for coordination, increase our partner awareness on highway and highway permeability, and identify priority stretches and collaborate to complete wildlife overpasses and underpasses in the state for mule deer and other ungulates. And one reason that this really stood out to us, Colorado's been conducting mule deer survival studies since the early 2000s, and we have 5 herds that we do this work in. And it became evident through our biologist work that roadkill was pretty consistent at 2%, regardless of the population, and also based on this graph out of Middle Park, regardless if it was a fawn, doe, or buck. It's always around about 2%. So it really stuck out to us as a consistent mortality, cause of mortality for animals across the West. In 2019, Governor Polis signed the executive order conserving Colorado's big game winter range and migration corridors, and this directed CPW and CDOT to work together for all the priorities that we mentioned earlier in identifying priorities, constructing overpasses and underpasses. We also have an MOU between the agencies, and it also directed us to share data. Following the EO, CPW created a big game status report again in 2020, and this again identified some of our data shortfalls and needs. And that was followed by the DNR policy report, opportunities and policy report in 2021. Again, this report identified over 50 recommendations, and it has a whole section on transportation from identifying priorities again to also getting conservation into kind of CDOT's long-term planning and getting projects on their long-term planning list. So all these documents have been coming together over the years just to continue the support and keeping us moving forward on the momentum that we have. In addition, in 2018, Colorado developed the Colorado Wildlife Transportation Alliance. This was following our first Wildlife and Transportation Summit. And this consists of a large number of conservation partners dedicated to transportation. It also has really helped improve CDOT and CPW's communication. We have an annual cross-training event between CDOT and CPW. It's actually loosely modeled after Vermont's work that Chris Slazar did, that he really inspired us to start to communicate better and have a set annual training. In addition, through the MOU and data sharing, CPW now has a wildlife roadkill app. So our staff obviously put down a lot of animals. We have a mandatory app to already promote or to collect information on bear and lion mortalities. So we turned this into an app. Our staff now collect the data. We've seen at a minimum a 27% increase to roadkill data collection in the state. And there's still some areas where we're underreported due to how the app works offline. But roadkill for bears and lions has greatly been increased with our staff's input. In addition, CDOT and CPW also worked together and collaborated to develop a crossing structure database. And this is available on the public. It's on the Wildlife Transportation Alliance webpage. We have over 70 structures in the state dedicated to wildlife. They date back to the 1960s and early 70s. You can go in here, you can click on a structure and you can get some information, and we update this on an annual basis. We've also completed a wildlife prioritization and transportation plan, co-funded by CDOT and CPW. We completed a west slope plan and an east slope and plains plan, and both of those now make up our statewide plan. We have over 400 miles of high priority segments in the top 4%. And there's a panel discussion on this prioritization process. Panel 3 this afternoon will be talking in detail about this process. We can take this information and we can overlay our big game, mule deer, and elk migration corridors and start to really hone in on other priorities based on our crossing information and our corridor information that we've collected. CPW is also working with the Alliance and the Wildlife Transportation, or too many wildlife, the Western Resource Advocates and other groups. We're reaching out to our local counties and governments, and we're asking about what kind of policies and plans they have for connectivity and wildlife. And we're hoping to develop recommendations to help promote connectivity. And I think yesterday, Douglas County and Chaffee County from Colorado talked on this topic. And also with Center for Large Landscapes. So we're doing a lot of work there. CPW has a wildlife habitat program since 2005. This is a conservation easement focused program. Some of the priorities include protecting migration corridors and also supporting lands near wildlife crossings. We've invested over $212 million over the last 25 years and protected over 300,000 acres in easements. This is another program with Wildlife Resource Advocates. Is that right, John? Wildlife Resource Advocates? Western Resource Advocates, sorry, thank you. And we are identifying land conservation needs adjacent to wildlife crossing structures. And so we're starting that effort now. And lastly, CPW just completed our wildlife habitat conservation and connectivity plan. This data will be available. Here we've identified our greatest restoration and conservation potential. We will use this data to overlap with some of our other prioritization studies. For now, we've identified 4 areas that are focused for habitat restoration and connectivity going to the future to focus our efforts both internally and with our partners. And I'll end here. Thank you. Please reach out with questions.